What's up, guys? This is English Grammar Explained, and today I continue to do exercises from Murphy book or English Grammar in Use. Quite old book, but I like it. This is exercise number 3, unit number 67. Complete the sentences, use the following verbs, in here, in the correct form. So, here we use complex object in every sentence. Complex object, but it can be with full infinitive or with bare infinitive, or it can even be with present participle or ing form. So, let's start. Listen to the birds singing. Here we use present participle. Why? Because that's the process. Birds are singing now. What about number 2? I didn't hear you come in. So that's only the fact. What about number 3? We listen to the old man maybe telling his story from beginning to end. Yes, I will use telling here. Why telling? Because it took some time to tell it, so that was the process. No story is told in only 1 second, so that's the process. And I can say it in other words. We listened how the old man was telling his story from beginning to end. So that's the process. Well, what about number 4? Listen, can you hear a baby crying? I think. Well, what about crying? Yes. We have cry, so crying. That's the process again. Pay attention to these words. Just listen, look, something like that. That's the process. And we hear a baby in the middle of the action. Well, number 5, I looked out of the window and saw Dan, his bike along the road. Riding, maybe riding his bike along the road. I see a ride here, so riding. I saw Dan in the middle of his action. He was riding, and I looked out of the window and saw him. I saw only part of his process, so that's the process. And I use present participle. Number 6. I thought I heard somebody say hi, so I looked round. Here is the fact. Why? Because I heard a complete action. That's the action from beginning to end. So I put say here, not saying. This is bare infinitive. Why bare infinitive? Because this is physical perception. Well, and now I look at my sentence number 3, and I think I made a tiny mistake. I wrote telling, but I have some problem here. His story from beginning to end. So, we heard the whole story. So, we listened to the whole process. In this case, I can also use infinitive. So, I will put slash here and put tell. I think that's the case when we can use either telling or tell. Returning to number 7. We watched 2 men running or run across the garden and climbing through an open window in the house. Here is the same situation as in number 3. Here we can say about process, but it can also be a fact. I consider the first section to be process, running. Or, if you don't like running, you can also use run, and that will also be right. And what about the second action? Well, here I will use climb, but you can also use climbing. I'm not actually sure what we watched. We could watch only part of action, or we could watch all the action. And of course, running across the garden, that was the process, as well as climbing through the open window. Well, what about number 8? Everybody heard the bomb explode. It was a tremendous noise. Well, what about explode? Ah, yes, I have this word here, explode. And this is the fact, because the bomb explodes quite quickly, and we heard all the action. So I use explode, bare infinitive, because I have physical perception here. Number 9. I can feel something crawling up my leg. It must be an insect. Here is the typical long action, typical process. So I use present participle, crawling. Number 10. I heard somebody, the door, slamming the door. In the middle of the night, it woke me up. So that's the fact in the past. I don't think that's the process. So, slam. Complete action, in fact, in the past. And number 11, last but not least, when we got home, we found a cat sleeping on the kitchen table. Here is a typical process. The cat was sleeping. That was the process, that was long action, and we saw only part of it. So I use present participle. Well, to my opinion, that was the most interesting exercise of all the 3. This is all for now. Please subscribe, leave comments,